Mrs. Midas. It was late September, and just poured a glass of wine, begun to unwind. While the vegetables cooked, the kitchen filled with the smell of itself, relaxed its steamy breath, gently blanching the windows. So I opened one, then with my fingers wiped the other's glass like a bro. He was standing under the pear tree snapping the twig. Now the garden was lawn, and the visibility poor, the way the dark of the ground seems to drink the light of the sky. But that twig in his hand was gold, and then plucked a pear from the branch. We grew fondante, fondante than a dummy, and it sat in his palm like a light bulb. On, I thought to myself, is he putting fairy lights in the tree? He came into houses. The doorknobs gleamed. He drew the blinds. You know the mind. I thought of the fields of the cloth of God of Miss. I thought of the field of the cloth of God of gold, and of Miss Macready. He sat in the chair like a king on a burnished throne. The look on his face was strange, wild, vain. I said, "What in the name of God is going on?" He started to laugh. I served up the meal. For starters, crown on the cob. Within seconds he was spitting out the teeth of the rich. He toyed with his spoon, then mine, then with the knives, the forks. He asked where was the wine. I poured with a shaking hand, a fragrant, bone-dry white from Italy, then watched as he picked up the glass, goblet, golden chalice, drank. It was then that I started to scream. He sank to his knees. After we'd both calmed down, I finished the wine on my own. Hear him out. I made him sit on the other side of the room and keep his hands to himself. I locked the cat in the cellar. I moved the phone. The toilet didn't mind. I couldn't believe my ears. How he had the wish. Look, we all have wishes, granted. But who has wishes granted? Him. Do you know about gold? It feeds no one. Our room soft, untarnishable slakes no thirst. He tried to light a cigarette. I gazed entranced as the blue flame played on his luscious stem. At least, I said, you'll be able to give up smoking for good. Separate beds. Separate beds, in fact. I put a chair against my door, near petrified. He was below, turning the spare room into the tomb of Tutankhamun. You see, we were passionate then, in those halcyon days, unwrapping each other rapidly like presents, fast food. But now I feared his honeyed embrace, the kiss that would turn my lips to a work of art. And who, when it comes to crunch, can live with a heart of gold? That night I dreamt like I bore his child, its perfect or limbs, its little tongue like a precious latch, its amber eyes holding their pupils like flies. My dream milk burned in my breast. I woke to the streaming sun. So he had to move out with the caravan in one with caravan in with a caravan in the wilds. In a glade of its own, I drove him up under cover of a dark. He sat in the back, and then I came home. The woman who married the fool who wished for gold. At first I visited, all times, parking the car a good way off than walking. You knew you were getting close. Golden trout on the grass. One day a hair hang from a beautiful lemon mistake, and then his footprints glistening next to the river's path. He was thin, delirious, hearing, he said, the music of Pan from the woods. Listen, that was the last straw. What gets me now is not idiocy or greed, but lack of thoughts of me for me. Pure selfishness. I sold the contents of the house and came down here. I think of him in certain lights, dawn, late afternoon, and when the bowl of apples stopped me dead, I miss most, even now, his hands, his warm hands on my skin, his touch.